because I love what you said about just being a decent person. And because yeah, if you spend time with somebody and you're a decent person, like that's been a pleasant interaction, not a transaction, just an interaction. That person is that's an opportunity for you to reach out and connect with them in the future. But something that I wrestled with also a lot when I was starting was this notion of reciprocity. So it's one thing to like, I was decent to all the people at law school. Like I was, we're all studying and we weren't making each other's lives worse. So that maybe counts as decent. But I wouldn't say that I was like helping everybody. Right. And not because I was trying to hoard my resources, but because we're just doing our own thing. And that didn't seem to be.
You didn't share your notes once?
I mean, if people asked, I'll share mine. I didn't on Facebook. No, but I guess what I mean is like, I guess I was really nervous at first reaching out to people, partly because it was unfamiliar, like, and I was scared, like Mary was saying, but also because I didn't feel like I'd actually done anything for them, right? Like, how can I ask you for something if I either haven't stored up a favor in the past or like don't have on my horizon in the future an opportunity to repay it? And at least when you're starting a business, like it's a long road before you can start repaying favors, in some sort of sense. But I guess what I ultimately realized, or what I've started to practice, and I would love to know if you agree with this, is I don't think reciprocity now has to be reciprocal. So okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page here. And it's funny because I also mentor a lot of students at law school, all these students, and they're constantly trying to buy me coffee, buy me lunch, because like I'm helping them. And I always laugh out loud. Like it would be ridiculous for me to accept that. Of course not. You paid forward, you treat the next generation of law students. And of course, but then for some reason, I never thought about this in all the other aspects of my life. Right. And so now my approach is like, it's enough for you to do something for me if I know I will do something for someone.
Right.
And I think this makes the world better, but it also gets me out of this, like, I can't get started. Like I can't start asking for help until I can help other people. That seems like something else that doesn't need to be in the box.
No, and thank you for bringing this one up, because this is actually one of those kind of favorite topics, particularly people who are in times of need, and that's a lot of people right now. Yeah. Hopefully that kind of networking generosity, which I think is a foundation, but the old notion of it, like if I introduce you to someone, you have to introduce me. That's transactional, and that just, like timeout, right? And that doesn't work for me. It may work if that's something I needed was an introduction in return. But what I think of it more as, Chris, and you're hitting on this, is like, how can you be like respectful of the other person's expertise? How can you be respectful of their time? Like, thank you, and like valuing the time they've given you, or valuing the way they say they can help you. And how do you kind of, let them know what you did with the information? Like, you don't just kind of, hey, thanks for that info, and boom, you're out of their life again for the next 20 years or whatever. Like, how do you kind of follow up and keep them in, ear and eye shot? And, maybe at some point, from all these lawyers you've talked at firms, you might run into someone you're like, oh, you need a lawyer, you should talk to this person, right? Or you may see an opportunity and go, you know what, this lawyer would be the perfect one for it. And there's the pay forward. It doesn't have to be transactional and reciprocity in the moment. Relationships should be for a lifetime. So, you keep in that pool of people, the people who are the ones who are giving and taking. But I think the biggest act of generosity now is, understanding why you're reaching out to someone, being respectful of their reputation, their relationships, and following up.
Oh, I like that a lot. And I think I agreed with it before, but I had not thought about it in those words. I love that, being respectful of their time and their expertise, especially because I have control over that. I have all the control over how much research I do into, whether I'm going to reach out to you, and also like how I'm going to take a minute instead of a second to write the email. Right. And and so like I also like that, because that makes me actually feel quite empowered, because I know I can make people feel special by thinking about them in advance.